Hello and welcome to another video of Hawk Takes. I am Grayson, and at this point, we also have you're basically my co-host, Sazbed.
Yes, it's a great honor.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a fun gig. We get to just dunk on the worst opinions out there.
Dunk on all the people who deserve to be dunked on. Honorable, great thing, based, always.
Yes, but not really the unpopular ones. We'll find you eventually, but for now, you're safe. For now. But the joint
Yes.
Yes, but we are powered by the joint gods of Warren G. Harding and Fennick Najee. So,
Nobody can stand against us.
yes. Honestly, I feel like that's going to be a thing, though. Where, like, one day you'll just see Max Blumenthal just have a picture of, like, Harding and Najee and be like, these are the symbols of Western imperialism.
Considering how thin-skinned people like him are, I wouldn't be surprised. They really find the most obscure critics they can on Twitter and the like and throw a shit fits. And also over random Wikipedia editors who try to take their pieces out of the citations.
That's probably the funniest thing Wikipedia has ever done. Just be like, Grayzone. This is we can only cite news here.
What are you gonna cite next? Stalinsmustache.com.
Actually, there is, unironically, a Stalinist society in the United Kingdom. Imagine citing those people.
Hey, they have the same amount of credibility as the Grayzone, I'll say that, which is none.
Yeah, 0% is.
Oh, yes. So, you want to roll the video?
Yep, just let me screen over. And let StreamYards take its time.
Yeah, it was giving me trouble when I tried to log in from my computer.
Oh, yeah, I saw.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, look here. We have Grayzone's Anya. I actually don't know how to.
Anya
Parampo, yeah. Rips criminal neocons in Biden and Trump camps. Neither one were a neocon. I know that.
Really? No. Well, I mean, a lot of people would say John Bolton was, but we've talked about this. He technically was not.
Yeah, like, neocons would probably be, I think, Rumsfeld and, like, George W. Bush. And people like Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton, those are neocons. It's like, Trump and Biden, not really neocons.
Oh, definitely not. But it is a little bit disappointing how Graham and Cotton, who you mentioned, have totally thrown their lot in with Trump.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I get it that you kind of have to do it because, you know, he is the head of your party, but still.
Still, yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, like,
all right, let's watch. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I can kind of understand why they do it, because it's better to align yourself with someone who is in charge so you can get some say in it, where if you distance yourself from Trump, you don't get any power, so.
Yeah, it's best not to be an obstructionist. Anyway, let's watch.
Oh, journalists. Like, the first world was a lie.
All right, let's just take a few minutes to appreciate the irony of this situation. We have a Grayzone far left reporter on the same show as a dude who's been accused of, like, super far right on social issues and has been accused of being racist even by some of his critics. So they really don't care who they join up with.
Yeah. I mean, the Tucker Carlson, he used to be fairly decent, but then he started having people like Jimmy Dole on his show, like the Grayzone.
Oh my God. Yep, that's a sign that one is no longer respectable.
Yeah, at this point, Hannity has much more respectable than Carlson.
Yeah, true.
I don't. Again, are they going to use Kamala Harris as being a neocon?
Yeah, no. For them, neocon is synonymous with somebody we don't like. And the
Yeah.
less we like them, the more neocon-er they are.
Yeah, they're like at least with like someone like Sharon here, at least she distinguishes neolib is left wing bad, neocon is right wing bad.
And they're used interchangeably too. The neocon neolib conspiracy.
Oh yeah, it's like they aren't really the same thing. Like I've seen neocons and neolibs duke it out a lot. They just don't seem that different because there's been so many extremists in recent years that
Yeah, and like what is fundamentally different. One is a foreign policy approach, and the other is an economic one. You don't necessarily have to be one to be the other. Hang on, I can't seem to hear this video.
is there something with your audio? I
It
don't know
might.
if anyone.
Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure. Hang on. Let's ringtone. Okay, try playing for a second.
Oh well, I can hear that because I muted. Can you hear that?
Only vaguely.
Might be an audio issue on your end.
Yeah, let me just turn up my volume a little bit more and do the... Okay, try playing it again.
Okay. Can you hear that?
No, for some freaking reason. Hang on, let me see if I can join with my... Hang on, I'll stay on this one, but let me see if I can join with my computer once again, because god damn, I'm having so many tech issues right now.
Anyway, while that's happening, I guess I'll just. Oh,
Hang on, no.
Apparently, he can't hear either, so maybe it's actually my end that's doing it.
Wait, who can't hear?
A guy in the comments, so maybe it's actually me.
Yeah, check it out.
Let me try this again.
%10% of.
I can hear that now, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it was my end actually.
Oh, okay. Glad we got this resolved.
It was my fault the whole time.
No worries, no worries.
A few weeks ago, it's very clear that in office, she'll act as nothing more than a marionette for the very people who destroyed countries such as Libya and are actually.
Wait, you mean she's a marionette for Gaddafi?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Kamala Harris ordered Gaddafi to bomb his own people into smithereens, and and give a speech saying he's gonna exterminate all of them like cockroaches. Yes, shame on you, Kamala.
Can we just talk about though for like how like Gaddafi was like so freaking anti-Semitic that he literally attacked the country because they recognized Israel. Like the Libyan-Egyptian war. It's like
it's just straight up deranged.
yeah, like, not only will he not recognize Israel, but other countries can't even recognize.
Yes, and not only that, he once threatened war against Switzerland because I think Swiss police arrested his son at a brothel or something. The man was legit insane, as well as being a bigot.
Yeah, he was like a massive like. They throw this war around a lot, but he was an actual warmonger. He sent troops to Uganda. He invaded Chad. He literally sent forces and supplies to the IRA, ETA, which was the boss terrorist organization, the FARC, and and terrorist in Indonesia and Philippines. You see, he was like one of the biggest bankroller of terrorists.
Yeah, but for people like Anya here, it's okay when somebody they like does it.
Yeah.
Responsible for bringing slavery back to the African continent.
Well,
I mean, Gaddafi had maintained his own slave trade for years beforehand.
yeah, it's like you can't really say they brought back slavery, given the country itself was just one big slave plantation, essentially.
Yeah, no, they just made it more official, in other words.
Yeah, it's like, and that's not really relevant to today because that happened, but now, since the government actually started to unify, they actually now been cracking down on it.
Yeah, which is good news. It's good to get rid of that stuff, but yeah, blaming America for Gaddafi running a hellish slave plantation country. Yet again, if what she's saying is true, it ain't good. Just not for the reason she thinks.
The only way you could possibly blame America for what's happened in Libya, if you have to go back to like when Gaddafi overthrew the monarchy, maybe you could say, well, if America defended the monarchy, none of that would have happened. And you'd be kind of right in that case.
But to these people, that was based in anti-imperialism and good, and because somebody they like did it.
Yeah.
Point that I think is so interesting when it comes to foreign policy, Tucker, is that President Trump has given the Democrats a perfect opportunity to oppose him in a meaningful way. He recognized an individual even he described as the Beto O'Rourke of Venezuela and has overseen a failed coup in that country.
Well, Guaido didn't really oversee the coup. It kind of happened.
Yeah, it was a protest movement against Maduro's pretty blatant election rigging. And it was Guaido was the legal successor to Maduro, whose subsequent term was invalid.
Yeah. I was actually thinking they were referring to like that when Silvercoal tried to do that thing. Like, I'm pretty sure Guaido didn't even know about that.
Yeah, I don't think he had anything to do with that.
Country. He's implemented crushing, brutal sanctions against the people of Syria who are now struggling to rebuild.
Gee, I wonder why they're struggling to rebuild.
Yeah, I wonder who possibly could have destroyed everything in their country to such a degree. Like, look at pictures of Syria. It's literally a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I mean, the name's escaping me, but I feel it involves the phrase, or we burn the country. And oh boy, did they burn the country.
Yeah. I mean, I also like the whole thing where it's just like, oh, but Assad kept stability. It's like, no, he didn't. Look what's happening.
Yeah, it's a textbook failure to keep stability and prevent your country from disintegrating into a civil war because, half the army didn't want to kill its own people.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't get. It's like, oh, but we can't kill Assad because it'll create a power vacuum. And it's just like, and it's not a power vacuum now?
It's been in a power vacuum since the Civil War began. Like,
honestly, it's been in a power vacuum since the 40s.
No, they've truly never had a stable government in what we would consider that term.
I mean, yeah, they tried. There was a brief extent in the 50s where they actually did have like a democratic government, but then it got overthrown.
True.
Like, it's always funny how these Arab nationalists complain about this when they're the ones who overthrow the closest success they got. Like in Palestine, where there was a liberal, there was briefly a liberal prime minister of Palestine in the West Bank after the Fatah-Hamas conflict, and he was internationally recognized for how well he ran Palestine, but they didn't like him because he was a liberal and didn't want to kill Israelis.
Yeah, no, that's precisely why they voted for Hamas in the elections beforehand, because they wanted blood. They wanted more conflict. And the sad thing is, it just feeds off the hate on the other side.
After years of war waged by the United States and his allies, many people who crafted that war will likely be in a Biden administration. And Trump even pushed us close to a hot war with Iran earlier this year when he made the decision to assassinate General Qasem Soleimani, someone who actually fought alongside the United States.
Okay, this is going to be something I'm going to say. Saying Soleimani was an anti-ISIS fighter would be like saying Erwin Rommel was an anti-fascist because of his involvement in the July 20th plot.
Yes! I mean, technically true, but they're ignoring a shit ton of context.
Yeah, like,
these people.
Kind of like, yeah, my caliphate was against your caliphate. It's a...
Yeah, no, it's...
I mean, yeah, it'd be like calling the Iranian state an anti-Saddam fighter because they did oppose Saddam, so I guess it
true. Yeah. They're just bad in their own way. And she mentions war waged by the U.S. against Syria. I'd say it was by their own people who didn't want to live under Assad.
States in its fight against ISIS. And here's the thing, the Democratic base rejects all of these policies, but the Democratic elite don't seem to care. In fact, Tucker, what's amazed me as I watch this convention is that the only jobs program Democrats have offered.
Yeah, if you're wondering why they won't go after, let's say, something like Cuba, Venezuela, Trump's policy on that, some of them still want to win Florida from time to time.
Yeah. No, and it's like Florida's been trending red recently. Like this is the first time since this last year was the first time since 1992 it voted for a losing candidate, and it seems that the predominantly Hispanic neighborhoods made the difference. So they want to have a fighting chance amongst the Cuban and Venezuelan communities specifically.
Yeah, like as soon as if a Democrat decides one day we're going to make peace with Cuba and Venezuela, they'll go the entire state of Florida, and they'll go they can go a big chance of losing re-election because then Republicans won't invest as much in Florida because it's a lot more safer now. They're going to invest in more swing states, and you lose.
Yeah. No, this is unfortunately the real world where their LARPy far left policies aren't what's going to win votes.
It's like no one really, even if you don't like the wars, you're not going to vote for someone just because they oppose the wars.
Yeah, very few people vote that way.
Yeah, like most people, you could honestly be pretty hawkish, but as long as you have good domestic policy, you could probably win a lot of the people who want to end the wars, but just like your rhetoric on domestic policy.
Yeah, no, it's totally possible to vote that way. Liberal hawks, they're called.
Yeah.
For the public in the midst of a global health crisis and economic crisis is a jobs program for washed-up criminal neocons.
Trademark registered.
Yeah, honestly, I think the only reason why Carlson laughed is because he was not expecting it to get that cringe. See that? That's the face of a man who just realized, oh shit, I picked the wrong side. There's no going back now. This grift is... I grifted to the wrong side.
How can I get out of this? Oh God. Let's see what he has to say.
Washed up criminal neocons. The architects of the foreign policy disasters you're describing seem to have gone almost as a group to the Democratic Party and are.
Wait, why do they say they seem to be almost as gone as a group, but they also complain that neocons are still controlling America's foreign policy?
I think Tucker is trying to deflect the blame somewhat from his party.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not us. Which is a bit shameful. Embrace it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If you want to have good advertisement, instead of being like, George Bush does not represent us, try and paint him in a more positive light. Be like, Well, yeah, it may have not worked out, but still, ultimately, the Iraq War did help secure 50 million people to more freedoms than they had before.
Yeah, you gotta note the good things and bad things.
The Harris-Biden ticket. Why do you think that is?
Tucker, I think the neocons just don't seem to die. We have Elliot Abrams, the architect.
That's right, baby. We never die.
Necromancers, one and all.
Unfortunately, though, you socialists never seem to die because despite how many times you guys have failed, you guys just keep popping back up.
With all the same convenient excuses. It wasn't real socialism. Actually, it was, and it was good. Okay,
Yeah.
it sucked, but it only sucked because the capitalist West wouldn't trade with it. You can't have it every way, you guys.
Like, that's the thing I'm still kind of baffled about. Like, Chile, the Communist Party is pulling well there. It's just like, you guys think that's gonna get you guys out of your economic shenanigans?
Oh man, no, and it's just like this is a question that should have been answered in 1991 pretty definitively. But unfortunately, we have people like the Grayzone.
Or major player of Iran-Contra, for some reason overseeing Iran and Venezuela policy in the Trump administration. But you have people.
Yeah, Iran-Contra, that was definitely a controversial one. Like, I get why they did it, because you're going to fund any anti-communist group.
But you know, I do also very much understand the risk of selling arms to a possibly hostile state.
Yeah, yeah, it's like I think the only reason they picked Iran was because they were desperate for weapons because of the war with Iraq, and that they were pretty sure.
Iraq was kicking the crap out of Iran in that war in terms of casualties.
So, I mean, I guess you could say there were some good things because it prevented, like, Saddam's Iraq from being Saddam's Iraq, bigger, but
yeah, we played a pretty wise double game in that war.
Yeah.
People like Bill Kristol, a chicken hawk who couldn't punch his way out of a paper.
Ooh, Bill Kristol.
Scary.
Yeah.
Though I will say, that guy very much seems to have become a Democrat in recent years.
Oh yeah, he is. Like, I mean, basically, his father, I think his father was way better because he was like this. His father was like one of the founders of the neoconservative movement, Irving Kristol. He was like
the boogeyman of all boogeymen for these people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Irving Kristol probably would not have supported the Democrats. He probably wouldn't have been the biggest gun-ho supporter of Trump because he's a neocon, but he would definitely be blasting Democrats if he was still alive.
He'd be blasting the Biden administration.
Yeah, he'd blast him for, like, giving up on the people of Iran, giving up on the people of Afghanistan.
Yeah, no, that would be his biggest objection, probably.
Giving up on the people of Ukraine because Biden was going to send ships, but then turned them back.
Yeah, because oops, and nixing the sanctions against the Nord Stream thing, that was a big fuck up.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, these people want to see neocons. They ain't seen nothing yet.
Honestly,
I'll say that much.
This might be a little like a hot take, but I actually somewhat think that some isolationists could actually have better foreign policy than Biden, simply because at least they wouldn't enter the JPCOA and they wouldn't have lifted sanctions on Nord Stream.
Yeah, at least they'd be consistent without this constant hemming and hawing.
Yeah, like a real isolationist probably wouldn't do any trade with China, so you would indirectly weaken them, so you are kind of
hit them where it hurts.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree with that take right there.
Bag actually supporting Biden. People such as Colin Powell revived on the international stage, or on the national stage, I should say. And this is the thing, Tucker.
Yeah, but so did Noam Chomsky. He supported Biden, so is this...
True. Well, these people probably consider Noam Chomsky to be an imperialist, fake left trademark because he doesn't share their wacko views about communism and Mao's China and the like.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people criticize Walsh for not being left-wing, where he objectively is left-wing.
Like the guy, I believe, gave money to a charity that was linked with Hamas, most likely knowingly.
Yeah. I mean, again, even if it wasn't linked to Hamas, the thing with charities in Palestine is that when you give money for healthcare in Palestine, Hamas just cuts it out of their spending on healthcare and just puts it to missiles. So,
Yeah, no, it's like that time when Israel gave them a lot of money to invest in schools and the like, and they built tunnels with it instead. Really well spent, I'll say.
Yeah, honestly, I think Israel kind of did it on purpose. Just, we need the challenge. This is too easy.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Well, yeah, that's still hilarious to think, though, that Hamas is technically getting some funding from Israel, and the Grayzone won't denounce it. It's like, come on, these are Zionists.
Yeah, come on, you got to take the principled anti-imperialist stance on this.
Yeah.
Anyone who supported the Iraq War, such as Colin
Yeah, honestly, though, I've never found an isolationist who actually holds very consistent views.
Yeah, there's always, but they're not, yeah, the thing is they're not against intervention as a whole. They're totally fine with, say, the Russian bombing of Syria. They're 100% okay with that. But when the U.S. Retaliates, it's awful.
Because technically, anti-isolationism is technically impossible because you would have to denounce all form of interventions. But the only way to meaningfully do that is intervention. So,
yeah, it's build up. If you want to prevent war, you need a strong military. If you want peace, prepare for war. These people don't fundamentally get that. They want unilateral disarmament.
yeah, well, there are paleocons who do support high defense spending, but then never use it, which kind of doesn't make sense because you're literally just spending money on something you don't intend to use. But
yeah, no, it makes zero sense.
Powell, such as Elliot Abrams, it should be discredited in the eyes of the U.S. public, and in fact is. The only person I was missing from this.
I don't think it really is. Like, yeah, Americans are more non-interventionist, but when you actually phrase questions differently, some Americans are way more diverse on this topic. Don't care because most Americans, at the end of the day, don't care whether or not 500 troops in Syria.
Yeah, no, it's not something we pay a lot of attention to. And it varies based on public mood. For instance, like right after 9/11, basically everyone was in favor of, our foreign intervention in Afghanistan.
Like 70% of Americans supported Iraq when it first started, too.
Yeah, no. And also Vietnam. That's another interesting case. Opinion polls actually show that a majority of people pretty consistently supported the war, including a majority of college students, I believe I read somewhere.
This whole event was Colin Powell's little vial of anthrax, and I think...
Wait, why does she have anthrax with her?
I hope it's just a prop bottle.
I hope. I'm concerned.
Yeah, put that fucker down. We don't want that getting everywhere. As if COVID wasn't enough.
Honestly, Tucker kind of looks concerned. It's just like, wait, what? You didn't tell anything about this.
He may have thrown out his credibility with that vial when he brought it to the United Nations and lied the United States into a war with Iraq.
Or technically, Iraq did have, it's objectively true that Saddam did have chemical weapons.
But didn't he hand them over to Syria or something during the invasion?
I don't know. It's a very yeah. I wouldn't doubt though that Saddam moved the weapons somewhere else, and then maybe that's why we didn't find them, because he either destroyed them to try and make it look like he had no weapons.
But yeah, he had a long history of using chemical weapons against his own people, most notoriously the Kurds.
Yeah. He also used them against Iranians. That's why Iran actually did support the U.S. intervention.
Yeah. No, it's like they could not have cared less what happened to this sworn enemy of their country, whom they had fought a brutal 8-year war against.
Honestly, maybe the Grayzone should denounce Iran for assisting American imperialism in Iraq.
Hey, again, some consistency would be appreciated at least.
That made us weaker. Anya Partenpill, thanks so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
All right. So
Anya Partenpill is a journalist. She's with the Grayzone.
So yeah, we have that right there.
Yeah, and that was probably the more tamed one, because this next one is called
Super Spicy. I'm bracing myself for it.
It's called Cuba saves Italians from coronavirus despite U.S. blockade.
Yeah, so you know it's going to be cringe when somebody mentions blockade. It's not a naval blockade. It's just a trade embargo.
Yeah.
For one country, like Canada trades with them.
Yeah, it's more symbolic because it doesn't really do anything. Like, you know how many things, you know how much shit Cuba imports?
Yeah, from Europe, from not just countries like China or Iran, from countries that are otherwise very close to America.
You'd think though that someone like Poland wouldn't want to trade with. I don't know if Poland does trade with Cuba because, at least you'd think they wouldn't, because they wouldn't want to empower another communist state. But
yeah, given their own history. But yeah, like I mentioned, Canada trades with them.
China, the second largest economy, trades with them.
Yeah, and as does, as we most notoriously know, Maduro in Venezuela.
Ew. Also, we're probably going to hear that Cuban doctors sing. And
yeah,
I'm just prepared to debunk that, because that's a very those are some very interesting takes, to say the least. But
yeah, let's fire away at them.
Hi everyone, I'm Anya Partenpill, and you're watching Red Lines. A brigade of Cuban...
Wait, they call their show Bread Lines? They're owning the fact that their nations suck now.
Yes, I was going to say that would be a very unfortunate thing to mishear. It would be appropriate, though.
I mean, yeah, the U.S. does have, do technically have food lines because we have homeless people, but it's like, yeah, every country has homeless people.
Yeah, no, the worst people in the U.S. live to a similar standard of living as your average person in any historical communist state.
Yeah. It's also kind of interesting because some people are like, oh, Cuba reported 0 homeless people, and so socialism works.
Yeah, you know why they have 0 homeless people? It's fucking against the law. They drag you off the street.
Yeah. Also, have you seen the homes in Cuba? My trailer park has better. Yeah, the trailer parks don't have homeless populations either. So
yeah, depressing as fuck, but you know, they don't have homeless people. And I was actually reading about Soviet homeless policy. It's a very interesting article I may send you later. They basically just used pure repression to keep those people off the streets. And when honored guests, communists from the West, were given tours, they were starry-eyed about, there's no homelessness here. That's exactly who these Grayzone people are.
medical workers are...
Oh, also, one more thing about that whole Cuban socialism thing. I did a joke where it's just like, it's like how Jordan also reported they had 0 homeless populations, which I doubt, but I decided to troll them and be like, monarchism works.
Yeah. Awesome, based. I approve.
Arrived in Italy over the weekend after Havana announced it would send dozens of doctors to the country in order to aid in its fight against coronavirus.
By the way, I don't really. It's like, are there shortages of doctors in Italy? Like, I guess, but
Well, yeah, and it's also like other EU countries were starting to get hit real bad, so they had to invest resources in their own countries.
yeah. I mean, it's like, but again, it's like, how many doctors did they send? Like, because usually with these type of things, you usually aren't going to send enough to actually do anything, or you send way too fucking many. They usually don't give enough. That's why Doctors Without Borders is kind of better because they allocate it way better than Cuba does.
Yeah, for Cuba, it's every bit as much about propaganda and face value than it is about actually helping people.
I mean, again, another thing why a true nationalist of Cuba, like if they had nationals like in America, they would oppose this because, like, Cubans are sending their doctors overseas to first world nations where our countries are dead, where our people die in the street. Of course, they don't do that in Cuba because you get shot.
I'm sure a lot of people do think that way. It's just, a heavily censored place, so to speak.
I mean, it was kind of like how in Sweden, there was actually a lot of people pissed off at the Prime Minister during the Vietnam War because he sent doctors from a hospital that was already understaffed to support the Viet Cong.
Oh God, what an infamous episode, and good for them for calling him out.
Yeah, it's like, unfortunately, everywhere else in Sweden was, because every time there happened to be an election, they could remove this guy. This guy just happened to get a big boost of popularity before, and also the opposition wasn't the best.
Yeah, no, it's like they were very incompetent. But still, it's just, ugh. Never forget that Sweden supported the Viet Cong.
Yeah. Like, that's why I forget, I think it's like Olaf Prism, like, worst leader of Sweden, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
He was basically the Maduro of Sweden, but the only reason Sweden didn't get as bad as Venezuela was because after they assassinated him,
Yeah, no, talk about a bullet that was dodged.
Except for the Prime Minister.
Perfect.
Italy has been hit particularly hard by the global outbreak of COVID-19, experiencing what's essentially been an exponential increase in the daily infection rate and death toll since the beginning of March. At the time of this recording, 50,000.
Oh, well, this is like pretty early in the COVID cases.
Yeah, no, this is like from March of 2020, I presume, because I remember that's when Italy was the epicenter of the whole thing.
Now it's like India.
Yeah, that's what India is now, and what the US was for much of the summer of that year.
And ironically enough, kind of Cuba now because they got a lot of cases.
Oh yes, and Cuba absolutely cooks their numbers of this. We should not take them at face value. It's probably more than officially reported.
Even under cooked numbers, though, they had a big spike just recently, like a few days ago. And how do you get a big spike? You're an island country. You guys shouldn't be that bad.
It's an so amazing healthcare system we keep hearing.
Yeah.
418 people are currently infected, and 6,077 have died in Italy as a result of coronavirus. Over 600, 700, and even 800 people now die of coronavirus in Italy on a daily basis. Comparing populations, that would be the equivalent of more than one 9/11 attack occurring in the United States every single.
Well, Honestly, I don't get that comparison because it's kind of like, oh, it's like a daily 9/11, except we don't usually convert it. Well, I guess you could say it's true, but it's not really as tragic when the. This is realistic. It's not really tragic when the thing that's killing you is an enemy that isn't human.
when it's not a deliberate act of murder by other people, when it's a biological threat that people at that time really didn't know what the heck was about.
Yeah,
like we were still figuring out how to fight it at that time.
This is my friend Kevin was on a Dylan Burns podcast, and one of the other panelists on the show basically was like, "Oh, but why are you concerned about 9/11 when we have a 9/11 every day because of COVID?" And I'm just thinking, by that logic, you shouldn't be concerned about COVID because that's just because you get COVID death rates every day by heart attacks.
Yeah. No, it's just ridiculous comparisons.
Like heart disease, cancer, strokes, like those combined.
The flu, the seasonal flu.
Yeah.
Day. Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams says the United States is about 2 weeks behind Italy when it comes to the spread of coronavirus. Here's what he told Fox News on March 16th.
Dr. Oz, Dr. Sapphire were both correct. We are at a critical inflection point in this country. People, we are where Italy was 2 weeks ago in terms of our numbers. And we have a choice to make as a nation. Do we want to go the direction of South Korea and really be aggressive and lower our mortality rates? Or do we want to go the direction of Italy?
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah, but it could be like North Korea and then
just fucking bury everyone and burn all the bodies and cook all your numbers. Yeah, amazing strategy there.
You like North Korea, it's like, we killed these people. What? You killed them because of COVID? And they're like, COVID?
The U.S. might be lucky to go in Italy's direction, considering it implemented a nationwide lockdown, something we've yet to do at the federal level.
That's because the federal government doesn't have that power to actually mandate lockdown.
Yeah, no, that lies exclusively with state governments. And it was a very mixed bag, depending on which state it was. Like, Florida did comparatively better than, I don't know, some of the states that locked down harder.
Yeah, it's also kind of like New Jersey did like the worst, and they also have like terrible lockdowns. So you get worse at both ends.
Yeah, the worst of both worlds.
And something many governors are failing to do at the state level.
Yeah, except Florida, where they didn't do it, and they're doing a lot better.
Yeah, and also California, they were hit pretty hard, from what I heard.
Yeah, but how much do you want to bet that this person probably believes in the whole Ron DeSantis thing?
Yeah, very high chance, I think.
They don't care. Cubans are going to vote for DeSantis probably.
No, nothing to vindicate them. No, siree, not at all.
And let's not forget that Italy actually has a modern healthcare system with 3.2 hospital beds per 1,000.
Wait. I'm pretty sure America's healthcare system is modern.
Yeah, and especially since a lot of people who are in desperate need of care from other countries often come here.
Yeah, like, no, we are not, like, yeah, you can criticize the insurance because it is a mess, but the insurance is a problem. The healthcare itself, like, we have the highest survival rates of breast cancer in the world.
Yeah, and also pretty low maternal mortality rate.
It's like, also, the only reason we have, like, high things, like, we do have high infant mortality, but that's also because we measure it a little more.
We're pretty stringent with how we measure that.
Whereas, like, most nations, like, I think we consider it if a baby dies during the pregnancy, it's infant mortality, whereas other nations don't count it.
Yeah, like it has to die after birth for it to count.
And Italians, for example, compared to 2.8 beds per 1,000 people in the United States. Medical workers in the U.S. are already reaching their breaking point and are warning our so-called health.
Like, basically, the reason why they show this stuff is because it's good clickbait.
Yeah.
Like,
that's all it is.
Like, no, like, some people were probably shocked, but no serious medical person was probably saying no one would say the system is doomed if you were very serious. Even if you weren't confident it was going to hold, you weren't going to cause panic. Like,
yeah, no, it was just pretty stressed out is the issue.
Healthcare system will not be able to manage the impending catastrophe. Listen to what several of them told.
I guess they handled it pretty well, especially vaccine rollout.
Yeah, no, we're one of the world leaders in vaccinations.
Yeah, and I think we're actually now starting to send them to India.
Yeah, good for us.
Team America all the way.
Oh yeah, baby.
Told NBC News.
Warning from the nation's frontline ER doctors, the situation is critical.
Okay, well, this is all irrelevant because we learned, like, there was certainly a lot of there were bad things that happened during the pandemic, but it never got essentially what the doomsayers were saying.
Oh no, definitely not that bad. But again, it's all about distortion. That's these people's whole shtick.
Like, I think we're now at like the point where we're like, I think the current is like, I actually have it here, so maybe I can just look up how many we got today. But if it loads, and it's, yeah, we had 19,000 total new cases today and about 400 new deaths. So, no, I was like, they were complaining about earlier with 800. Like, the death rate is like going
Oh yeah,
crazy.
we're not in the depths of the crisis right now.
Like, the crisis is ending. It's going.
Yeah, no, especially as more and more people get vaccinated.
Dealing with right now is something most of us in our careers have never seen, which is a slow roll mass casualty incident.
It feels like living in a terrifying sci-fi movie, but this is real life. And in the United States, our hospitals, at least in New York, are going to start to look like Italy's hospitals.
There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of,
Well, yeah, there was. Like, I'm pretty sure that was everywhere.
Yeah, when the virus was a new thing that people didn't know shit about, people were freaking out. And that's not the case anymore. So I'd say this video is about as outdated as more outdated than anything else.
Like, I admit though that I actually thought this thing was going to be some stupid thing that like passed in like 2 weeks. I was like, it's going to pass in 2 weeks. It's just media hype.
Yeah, no, it was for me. It was kind of surreal how it unfolded. Oh, it's what's that weird thing in China now? Oh man, this must be embarrassing of them. Oh shit, there are people in other countries. There are people in our country, and then shit really hit the fan.
Yeah, I was just thinking, well, the media hypes everything, so they're probably hyping this too.
Yeah, well, again, we're willing to admit when we were wrong.
Yeah, it was like, I wish I wasn't wrong. I wish I was.
Yeah, we all wish this was just a giant hype.
Yeah.
Wondering if you're risking your life by going to work, but we're feeling, abandoned. We're feeling isolated.
But if you're hoping the U.S. will take a page from Italy's playbook and accept assistance from the outside, particularly Cuba.
Why would you accept assistance from Cuba? Technically, we have like 2 million Cubans already here, so we don't need more Cubans.
Yeah,
We got
couldn't
a
be
lot of them.
us. And apparently, like, Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez offered to help out with Katrina and the like. And
Yeah, well, of course we're not going to let the propaganda happen.
yeah, no. So no, it's like, yep, no thanks, but no thanks. We don't need your help. But, you know, it would be good to accept the doctors, if only as excuses for them to defect.
Yeah, like, actually, I was thinking some of the Cuban doctors in Italy did defect.
Oh God, how embarrassing!
Like, there's a reason why they usually send them to third world countries, so they won't defect. But even then, sometimes they defect.
Yeah, just anything to get out of Cuba and make their way to America is good with them.
I think one of them was sent to Libya, and he went on and then he said, and then he basically got on a plane, but he instead went to Spain instead of Cuba, and then just went to America.
Oops, sorry, bye-bye.
Sorry, wrong. Oh, I'm not. Well, I could return, but yeah,
You know.
it's too far, so I'm just gonna stay here.
Oh yeah, I like it here. I rather like this place.
Yeah.
Prepare to be
It'd be like that North Korean diplomat in the UK, where he just realized, wait a second, if I just walk out there, they can't get me.
Yeah, it's literally all I need to do. And like during the whole solidarity martial law thing in 1981, that's what the Polish ambassador to the US did. He's like, nope, not my country. I'm disassociating myself from this.
disappointed. The U.S. has waged an illegal war against Cuba's medical system for over 6 decades.
Illegal war against medical systems.
Oh God, the hype.
Yeah. Also, Amnesty International. Of course they did.
Oh, of course. Why not?
Making it unlikely that Washington will be willing to accept help from Havana, especially when you consider how it's targeted Cuban doctors in their heroic international medical work.
It's heroic when they escape.
Yeah. Yes.
It's also like I really hate this Cuban doctor argument because they have more doctors per capita. They also get paid nothing. They pretend to be bellboys. It's like the Cuban joke when someone says they're a bellboy but they're really a doctor.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's pretty much slave labor from what I've heard.
Yeah. And it's like just because you have a lot of doctors doesn't mean your healthcare is good. Japan has a very low number of doctors. It's lower than Belarus. But if I'm breaking my leg in Belarus or Japan, where do you want to break your leg?
In Japan. And consequently, they're they're a country that did very well throughout this whole COVID crisis.
Yeah.
Specifically, in 2014, Cuba led the international fight against Ebola, sending hundreds of doctors to West Africa, drawing praise from the World Health Organization and even
That's why the WHO sucks.
Yeah. They are in the pocket of it. The big reason is that they're in the pocket of China.
It's like most of the reason why the Ebola outbreak the real reason it didn't really affect the countries as much is mostly because the Ebola virus itself kills you pretty quickly, so it couldn't spread as fast.
Yeah. That is counterproductive for a virus to be too deadly.
the National Institute of Health in the United States.
Girls be like, I don't join cults. The girls.
It's not a cult. It's a blah, 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 blah. Yep, this is it.
Yeah. No, we can't. We're a state atheist country, so we can't be a cult. We're literally against religion.
Yes,
No.
just ignore the giant fucking Che posters all over our city.
Yes, because as you know, as long as you're not religious, you are just the. That means you are totally immune from being stupid, not being religious.
Oh, yeah, as everyone knows.
Yeah. Unfortunately, way too many people actually believe that, though.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're so dumb because you'd rather live in a. Like, I'm going to go off a tangent here.
Oh, no, yeah, just reading the Bible. Reading the Bible is like, hey, who can believe this claptrap? Reading the Communist Manifesto, so true.
Yeah, but it's like, honestly, to be fair, when you actually look at like what Christians states where Christianity is the official religion, and states where atheism was the official religion, which is different from secular states like America. Those are good, but like atheist states were pretty hellholes. It was like revolutionary France and in all the communist countries.
Yeah. No. It was nightmarish. Like Albania was the worst of them because they completely tried to stamp out religion. It's like they tore down all the churches, all the mosques, and proclaimed themselves the world's first purely atheist state. And needless to say, it didn't turn out that well. There's plenty of religious people there.
Well, there's religious people all over the places because it turns out when you give people a shitty alternative to religion looks pretty good.
Yeah! Surprise, surprise, surprise.
That's the main reason I think atheism, despite the traction, is a failing ideology because it can't really offer a good alternative.
Yeah, it doesn't offer very much. It's very lonely belief system at its base.
It gets people pretty like there's definitely an atheism to nihilism pipeline that exists.
Yeah, true.
But not to diss atheists or anything, but it's.
Oh yes.
Like, there's some atheists are pretty good. Like now I'm going off tangent. But
yeah, no.
Back to Cuba.
Back to Cuba.
We interrupt this Cuba shitfist to bring you religion.
Yes, to bring you this religious special.
Yeah. Join us next week in religious specials when we talk about was Jesus a communist? The answer is no.
At the time, the World Health Organization said U.S. sanctions restricted the doctor's ability to work.
El problema del pago es más serio de lo que parece, pero es por un problema asociado con el embargo. O sea, el hecho de que son cubanos ha limitado mucho la transferencia de fondos.
Oh no, actually, to be fair, the embargoes actually do apply to two other nations with Cuba. It applies to Israel, which Cuba doesn't recognize anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
And the nation of Palau, and you know, that's
real big, real big world player right there.
Yeah, it's like might as well give up if you're against Palau.
Yeah.
It's kind of like also the joke of like the Dominican Republic when they voted, where they were the only other nation on the UN Security Council to vote with the US on Iran. And it's just like, whoa, buddy, look out. It's like,
we got a badass over here.
Yeah, like Iran was probably just looking at the vote and like, Mr. I can't, Khomeini. Oh, it's not Khomeini. What's his name?
Khomeini.
Yeah, Mr. Khomeini. We got the votes. Yeah, they all voted with us. But look, Dominican Republic. Oh shit! Everyone, we gotta run. They're coming after us. You know how much reggae music they're gonna spread all over the country?
Yes, it's Western degenerate music. We can't have that.
Yeah, it gets stuck in your head. It will never escape. We gotta run.
Oh gosh.
Y el pago a los cubanos. O sea, en este momento en Sierra Leona, por ejemplo, recién se ha logrado pagar octubre.
Also, speaking of which, Dominican Republic is like what Cuba claims to be. Like, the Dominican Republic is actually, it's not the best nation, but it's not a terrible nation.
Yeah, no, it's certainly far better off than Cuba.
Like, honestly, the Dominican Republic is like actually could be on if they like liberalize a little more. I think they can actually be on a good path to a brighter future. And if Japan evolves, if Cuba never had communism, they'd practically be a Japan-like country at this point.
No, yeah, like in the 50s, they were wealthier overall than Italy, of all places.
Like, if that continues, like by the 90s, we'd probably be worrying about the Cuban century.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, they had to shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
O mediados de noviembre. O sea, hay un retraso al pago porque problema de transferencia de fondos.
But Cuban medical brigades aren't merely dispatched in response to global pandemics.
Maybe they won't get enough payments from those countries for the doctors, which actually, yeah, the countries
Yeah,
that pay them isn't okay. But other than that, probably because the country was like, "Hey, you guys are not that good," and half of you guys defected.
Yeah. Well, I mean, defection is good. We should do our utmost to encourage that and give them opportunities to do so.
They're like, honestly, I think that's probably why so many Cubans become doctors. Maybe they hope to be sent on some overseas mission.
Yes, to like the United States in a fever dream and be able to just see ya. It's like that joke about the Tampa Bay Rays once played the Cuban national team and the game ended early when half the Cuban players just went over to the US.
Honestly, that's what I would do. I don't blame them.
Yes, 100% awesome.
Yeah, it also just provided a big stain on their national legacy. That's base when it happens to our enemies. Like
100%.
Like honestly, like they say traitors are bad, but if you're like a traitor to like the Soviet Union or communist China, you're not a bad person.
100% good. I approve.
At any given time, there are roughly 50,000 Cuban doctors working throughout about 66 countries worldwide. Why are doctors considered Cuba's greatest export? As Time magazine
Because they have nothing else.
Yeah, nothing else except sugar.
Yeah, it's like I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be the biggest export if they actually had an economy.
Yeah.
They actually had shit worth exporting because literally you can get sugar.
They don't produce anything. Yeah, like the only thing they really can sell is cigars.
And even then, you could. It's pretty easy to. Some countries have actually just made replicas.
Yeah, make your own Cuban cigars that are a lot easier to get than the real thing.
Like I saw them in Belize. Like they had like these almost. You couldn't tell the difference between them and a Cuban cigar.
True. So they have to rely on underfunded doctors who aren't necessarily reliable most of the time.
Yeah, they don't pay it anything.
explains it's due to a concept known as Cuban medical internationalism. Quote, Cuba's global health crisis.
Might as well call it Cuba medical propaganda.
Oh gosh. Oh man.
Response system is a Doctors Without Borders.
Oh no! You know what they should call it? They should call the Cuban government the Cuban United the Cuban United Treaty. Oh wait, no, okay, the Cuban United Nation Treaty, or cunt, because that's what they are. That took me a little while to figure out.
Oh yes, but it was worth it. Clever in the end.
Borders-like program, but instituted by the government. When Cuban doctors graduate medical school, they are given the opportunity to volunteer to be called upon for medical missions, like an Ebola outbreak or a natural catastrophe. Often, these are 1 to 2 year commitments. To prepare for something like
they
Ebola,
last a lot longer
healthcare
than 2
workers
years
not
in a
only
lot of
undergo
cases.
aggressive training
Yeah.
for the specific disease they
More
are
of a
treating,
permanent
but
thing.
they also take courses on the region's culture
Depending
and
on the
history
country.
as well.
Yeah.
While
And
when
if they
it
like
comes
that
to
country's
tyrants
culture and
developing in the
history
United
and standards of living, they just go over there.
Oh, they did the life expectancy meme.
Oh, yes. This is something I recently read is probably a load of bullshit. Cuba absolutely cooks their statistics about this.
Like they're the source. It's the CIA, so you know they hate it, but that Cuba's actually lower than ours.
Yeah, no, also with infant mortality too. Because, they force parents to abort babies who they don't think are going to survive. So it's like artificially low in a
Like also
sense.
the main reason why Americans don't live as long is just because a lot of them are also unhealthy. Like
Yeah, no, it's obesity is the other thing.
Whereas we all know there's no obesity in Cuba.
No, not
Not a problem there.
the opposite problem, if you will.
Yeah.
United States. And though the island nation has nearly 3 times more doctors per capita than the U.S.,
Again, they have more doctors than any other country, but they don't have the best healthcare system.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's hard to objectively say which one's the best because if you can
No,
only
yeah,
make
number of doctors doesn't equate to good health care, I hope they realize.
by that logic, Uzbekistan is one of the best healthcare systems in the world.
Hey, going by numbers of doctors per capita.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess Vatican City has 1 doctor, so that must mean they have a pretty high number of doctors per capita. Basically, they have
Wow.
800. Actually, I think they have 2 doctors, so they have 800 people. 1 doctor for every 400 people. That's fucking great country. I'm gonna go there for healthcare.
Oh, yeah, that's the new socialist utopia which we must defend against American imperialism. Trademark.
Honestly, I don't think you'd ever have to defend the Vatican City against imperialism.
Yeah. Yes, no, but these people totally would.
these physicians won't be providing help to U.S. Americans in need of medical assistance anytime soon. The U.S. not only bars Cuban doctors from working within its own borders, it's gone so far as to pressure its allies to expel Cuban medical professionals from their countries. And with
Yeah, that seems pretty. Seems like something that you probably would want to do. You probably don't want you probably don't want a national security threat in your country.
Yeah, the way any country would behave.
Yeah, like, well, to be fair, I don't think you need to tell Colombia not to accept Cuban doctors.
Oh, yeah.
no small measure of success. Last year, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro expelled up to 10,000 Cuban doctors from his country after denouncing them as, quote, terrorists.
Well, based.
Cool. I'm on board with that. Again, national security risk right there. Though I do think he should have tried to convince some of them to defect.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's Brazil. You'll like it here. We have.
Yeah. We don't have constant shortages.
Yeah. We have the Amazon rainforest. But we're trying not to have the Amazon rainforest.
It's complicated, bro.
Oh, that.
Yet,
I just have a fun joke. Americans, when the trees start speaking Vietnamese. Oh crap. Brazilians, when the trees start speaking Vietnamese. You fool. You only made me stronger.
Yes, those tree Viet Cong are no match for Captain Chainsaw.
Brazil just deforces the entire battlefield.
This will be great agribusiness.
Honestly, that's what they should have done. They should have just got a bunch of Brazilians to go to Vietnam, and then when they went to hide in the little holes, they'd be like, what's a Vietnamese name? It's Kim. Where's the trees? Well, we were supposed to hide in those things. Where did they go? Apparently, some Portuguese-speaking people just came along and cut them all down. How?
Yeah, why is this bulldozer everywhere?
As coronavirus ravaged Brazil and Bolsonaro's cabinet this year, likely even infecting the president himself, his government is now begging.
Quoting the Grayzone, they quote themselves.
Yes. I'm going to have to hear from a better source about that. Sorry.
Cuban doctors to return. Meanwhile, as coronavirus spreads throughout the U.S., a Senate resolution introduced by New Jersey Democrat Bob Menendez last year declares that Cuba's international medical brigades, quote, constitute human trafficking.
Oh, yeah. They have
They
been
do.
reports. I've seen that. Yeah, I've actually kind of fucked up. Also, I think they did some things with the fox, but
Yeah, true.
and they sent a lot of Cuban doctors to get off East Libya. To Hamas. Hezbollah.
And all those most unsavory places in the world, we have the right to be suspicious.
Yeah, like, but no. Hezbollah and Hamas, those are just future album members.
Yeah, no, they're service organizations, bro.
Yeah, they service for removing Jews.
Oh, God.
They're the Jew removal guy.
Yeah, best genocide service you could find.
Yeah, well, you know, the competition kind of hasn't been around since the 40s.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to live up to that legacy.
Yeah.
I guess this is the important work Senator Menendez gets down to when he's not accepting political bribes or hiring underage prostitutes.
None of which were actually proven. Like,
Yeah, no, those seem like pretty dubious allegations.
you know, like the Justice Department didn't find anything. So, I mean, yeah, I know there's some corruption in America, but we're not that corrupt. We actually,
Oh, definitely not.
like, we have an index for corruption that's pretty objective. We can just look at that, find that America has problems. Not that bad, though. At the end of the day.
Yeah, well, certainly Brazil is one of the top countries.
Also, we already know he's been acquitted because this is from 2015, and he got elected in 2018 or he had to have been re-elected at some point between that. So
Yeah. So no, it's again more dubious stuff they're peddling.
In 2019, the U.S. State Department downgraded Cuba to Tier 3, the most severe category in its annual.
Oh well, they have to now support Saudi Arabia too.
Yeah. Yes, because clearly there's no objective metric. It's all a big imperialist conspiracy. Henceforth, everything we say is bad is good.
Human trafficking report, citing the international work of Cuban medics. That same year, Nicholas Casey of the U.S. intelligence community's unofficial propaganda arm, the New York Times.
What?
Yeah.
I think it's a private news source.
Oh. I think they did the meme this time.
Yeah, New York Times is owned by the U.S. government, and they have been critical of U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah, it's like they break all sorts of crucial stories. Like what are these? Where are these people coming from? Oh, it's so tiresome after a while.
From a third world nation that has a website that looks like it was made in 1998.
Yeah, either that or the Grayzone. Choices are limited.
Claimed Venezuela's government used Cuban doctors to pressure citizens into supporting it.
Not unbelievable.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah. I mean, how else is he supposed to rig the elections? You know, just because you kick off every opposition leader you have, still though, you can't be so sure. Look at Hungary in 1947.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, the non-communist parties, even with all of their leaders driven into exile and all sorts of laws taking away people's rights to vote, like they still won a narrow majority of the votes. And like, had it been free and fair, they would have dominated.
Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting noted at the time that the piece was, quote, riddled with factual inaccuracies, omissions, and misrepresentations, relying overwhelmingly on testimony from Cuban defectors, which had proven to be unreliable time and time again.
Wait, what?
Says who? According to whom?
The Cuban government.
I want to see these people's sources for this.
It probably is like the Cuban government or themselves or...
I don't rightly know.
I'm going to say this. These two people are not impressed right now.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that face Harding's making, that's basically my favorite reaction to this right now.
It's like, what the heck am I looking at?
Yeah. And Najee's just taking it back. It's just like these two.
What? This wasn't on the script, holding his piece of paper.
Even as Cuba struggles with food and fuel shortages as a direct result.
By the way, doesn't the U.S. technically have the right to sell and not sell to whom they please? Like, isn't that
yeah, no, and again, it's the cognitive dissonance of socialism. Socialism is a better society than the West. Okay, it sucks, but it sucks because the West doesn't trade with it.
Like, aren't you people supposed to be against trade?
Yeah, no, free trade to these people is bad unless it benefits the countries they like.
My God, if it helps someone like Botswana or Chile, then...
Oh, yeah, just the worst for there.
Democratic system, then they'll be prosperous, and there will never be a socialist revolution. That only happens in that can't happen in a prosperous country because there'd be no incentive.
Yeah, nope, they must stay poor eternally.
Because here's the thing: if this is another problem. If you rely on the poor as a voting bloc, you have an incentive to grow your voting bloc.
Yes, you have incentive to keep people as poor as possible.
Because they become middle class, and then they probably vote for like a liberal party.
Yeah, vote for something more in line with their interests, and you can't have that.
Result of U.S. sanctions, it has not given up on its medical internationalism. The news out of Italy reminds us that despite the best...
Also, like, are they trying to imply that Cuba would, like they say, Cuba buys oil despite U.S. sanctions? It's like, yeah, wouldn't Cuba have to buy oil if they were buying it from us? It's like, they're going to buy oil either way.
They're going to buy it somewhere. Why do we have to sell it to them?
Yeah. We just don't want to embed a communist regime that's right there.
No, yeah, which is 100% our right.
Yeah. It's like, is Iran supposed to now trade with... Well, I got it. Syria has to trade with Israel.
Yes, if you follow these people's logic.
Best efforts of Washington and its allies to characterize Cuba's medical workers as trafficking victims or political pawns, even terrorists.
Yeah, a lot of that is true.
Yeah, they are most of those things.
Like, there's a reason why you don't want to send the non-political pawns to third world countries.
Yeah, because they'll just go.
Yeah, it's like, this country still better than Cuba. All right, let's go.
Yep, fair enough. We're fine.
The main reason defections are more common is because you have to, because I guess they do stuff to your family if you defect.
Yeah. No. If it weren't for that, probably more people would defect if they were allowed to bring their families.
Truly only one word to describe them: heroic.
Oh, man. Yes, heroic are the ones who risk everything to go over to the other side.
Yeah. Anyway, so should we do more Cuba videos, or should we just end it off on the same person, but with Bolivia, so you know it's going to be.
Yeah, let's spice it up. Let's do a Bolivia take for our last video.
Alright, this is debunks coups of Bolivia can't speak. Debunks Bolivian coup myths. Number 1, it was a coup.
Yes, that's the biggest myth of all relating to the Bolivian events of 2019.
What's funny though is that I still find it kind of funny that they claimed that Elon Musk had something to do with it, because I think he did one offhand comment where he joked,
"We'll coup whoever we want," and these people lost their shit about it and thought he was being literal.
Also, I'm just gonna say this, Neo, you don't have to spam Snowing and Born in the comments. Like, we get the message.
Yes, we get it.
Yeah. Look how many of them are there all. It's like,
oh god.
I'm gonna have to put this guy. Don't make me put you in timeout, because I'm too lazy to put you in timeout right now. You won't get timeout, but you get scolding from these two men right here.
Yes, we're shaking our fingers harshly at you. You can't see it, but we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you still continue, okay, he's done.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because if you will continue, we shake your fingers, and then we have another finger for you.
Yes, you don't want to see that. Trust us.
Yeah, speak of things you don't want to see, but we're going to show it to you anyway.
Right.
Also, 4,000. I'm going to join these people. Help fight the good cause. They need reinforcements.
Give us donate to our Patreon, please.
Actually, I do have a Patreon, but no one has ever donated before. So.
Oh man.
Like I wasn't expecting them to. I just was like, maybe I'll get money. Didn't, but it's fine.
Well, Anya Parampil is a journalist focusing on.
She's not a journalist. She's a propagandist.
First mistake right off the bat.
Yeah. Hey, at least Goebbels never claimed to be a journalist.
Give that to him.
That's the only thing you get, Goebbels.
That's the closest thing to praise you'll get from us.
Yeah.
On Latin America at the Grayzone, which is an independent news website.
Not that independent.
Yeah, they ain't exactly open about where their funding comes from.
Yeah. Like, Jimmy Dole got money from the Syrian government directly, so I mean...
Who the heck knows where these people are getting their money from?
Yeah. I'll say this about the Grayzone. I do think Black Max Blumenthal is smarter than Jimmy Dole. That doesn't take much. Jimmy Dole.
Yeah, again, that's the closest thing to praise he's gonna get from us.
Yeah, at least you're not an unhinged man-child, essentially.
Fair enough.
And she joins us now from Washington, D.C. Nice to have you with us. I wanted to get your thoughts immediately on how this is being cast. It's being seen as a coup, and questions being asked about the.
That's another thing, though. The Grayzone has they have no real personality. Unless you agree with them, there's no way you can actually have a conversation with them.
They're not ones for venturing much outside their comfort zone.
Say what you want about someone I'm trying to think. Someone, who's pretty infamous, but can have a good conversation with. Like, I guess. Oh, he was on the video. He was in the earlier one. Tucker Carlson is someone you can have a reasonable discussion with. He just has very wrong opinions.
Yeah, and he just chooses, I believe, to be that way for the sake of Trumpiness.
Yeah, views.
Yeah.
So,
Selling out to the mob.
Like, you could probably go to, like, let's just say, like, the U.S. Senate. You could probably go up to any senator and have a way more reasonable conversation.
Yeah, they wouldn't start accusing you of being an imperialist within 5 minutes.
It's like, you can even have a good conversation with someone like Holly, so I'm pretty sure that shouldn't be a high bar to set.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I've had conversations with Ancoms, and we've pretty cordial.
Yeah, no. It's just like, my bar is don't deny genocides. That is what I care most about.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, I can have a nice conversation with
So, like,
you.
when it comes to nice conversations, 10 being like, who's someone you can have a really good conversation with, I guess. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I guess.
We'll find someone.
Yeah, but 10 being great and then 0 being Hawes, these guys all won.
The monkey man himself.
Me, Hawes.
Flings shit at the microphone.
Honestly, Prim, Tanky, Unity.
Hey. Hey, at least I can sympathize somewhat more with the Prims.
Yeah, they just hate Ted Kaczynski. Just hated technology.
Role.
Hey, fuck
military.
yeah.
Is that
Return
how
to monkey.
You would characterize this as well?
Absolutely. I think there's no question that what we've just witnessed in Bolivia is.
Oh, wait, you see that logo there? See that little news logo?
Al Jazeera.
Yeah. We're in Qatar right now.
Yes, one of the main hubs of modern day slavery.
Yay.
Yeah. Wholesome.
A military coup. What else?
Yeah, well, they opposed Saudi Arabia. They had a dispute with Saudi Arabia, so they're the good guy.
Yes, they're the good Gulf Arabs.
Do you call it when a president is forced to resign after the head of the armed forces, someone no Bolivian actually voted for, calls on the president to step down?
Well, technically, that can happen in the United States, though, because if the vice president can get the Secretary of Defense on board, the president has to resign. So,
yeah, no, and they're completely ignoring the context. There were mass protests against him, and there was the whole controversial election thing.
I mean, even though he technically failed in removing the socialists, the new guy they have is a little bit more moderate than Morales. And also,
yeah, no, he's much of an improvement.
Yeah, he's not going to do something like change the constitution and purge all the unloyal officers. I don't think Bolivia is going to go down the route of Venezuela.
We can only hope.
Down. And we should keep in mind Evo Morales' mandate, regardless of what you think about the October 20th result, does last until this January. So
illegitimate elections just count?
Yeah, because wholesome anti-imperialism or something.
Morales was not a good guy. He was massively corrupt.
And he had a court stuffed with his lackeys say that not running for president violated his human rights. It's bizarre.
Every time they try to remove the term limits, that's when I get a little suspicious.
That should be a red flag automatically.
You might be a little power hungry.
Yeah, just a suggestion, bro.
Yeah, at least political dynasties, they get their kid to run. Like, come on, have some decency.
Yeah.
Oh, pretend you're running a democracy.
Even
Oh,
if we were
gosh.
to invalidate this last election, Evo still is the president, or should have been the president, until January. And instead, we've seen him step down, saying that he's stepping down because members of his party, Movimiento al Socialismo, have actually fallen under threat. Their homes of mayors and governors were
Wait, was this that his party was being threatened, or did his party threaten to remove him?
Yeah, that's something we gotta clarify, I think.
Like, yeah, I mean, there were threats against members of the party, which is obviously not something that's good, because it's like you don't just
Democracy and all that.
Yeah, but also it was like members of his own party did want him to resign because they just thought it would be better to have a fresh start instead of a.
Yeah, and like all this bullshit could have been avoided had he just tapped Arce, the current president, to run for him in that election. But no, he had to be power hungry.
You know, that's the thing. It's like Arce, like literally, that's all he had to do. Be like, okay, Arce, you're a pretty decent guy. And honestly, you have better approval than I do. So why don't you run and I retire? And then, yeah. But he was clearly power hungry. That's why Ockery isn't just. I think that's why Ockery isn't actually letting him take a position of power.
Yeah, why they didn't just make him president once again? No, it's like they don't want another thing like what happened in 2019.
Yeah.
attacked by violent demonstrators.
Like they want to make this. Like I think what they're trying to do is they at least want to show the opposition that hey, we're capable of change. We aren't going. We don't want to like shoot you. We don't want to shoot dissidents. We don't want to become Venezuela. But we also align way too much with Venezuela.
So, walking the fine line between plausible deniability and idolizing that model.
Yeah.
Who threatened to carry them out of their houses and set them on fire. We saw public journalists working for Bolivia Television, dragged out of their offices by these very clearly right-wing, violent, non-democratic protesters, and demanding they stop their broadcasts of the demonstrations. This, to me, appears to be completely undemocratic and a clear attack against Evo Morales.
Yeah, but again, when you have mass protests, some of them are going to get violent.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. And I would have to hear about this particular thing from another source. This sounds like bullshit.
Yeah.
It just stinks of it.
And his mandate. He was willing to go for elections again.
But and he said he was willing to go to elections again
because let's think about it. If they think that he's rigging the election, then he's going to go for another election.
No, yeah. And it's like he should not have run for the fourth time in the first place. This ain't hard.
Just respect term limits.
But no, that would be imperialism, trademark.
Yeah.
Only after there'd been.
Like it's amazing how many problems could be solved if people just respect term limits.
Yeah. Oh, so fucking power hungry.
Yeah, like you can still do things after you're done. You can write a book. You could do speeches. You can
become an advisor and remain the de facto power.
Yeah, you could serve in parliament. You can do. There's still things you can do. Oh, hell, I wouldn't even want to be leader. Like it would sound nice to just retire after being leader.
Oh yeah. Then again, who knows what sort of criminal shit he was involved with.
Yeah, like another red flag. If they don't want to retire, they're probably hiding something.
Yeah, they don't want to give up that immunity too easily.
Weeks of protests, only after the Organisation of American States had said that the results should be annulled. You can go back to the referendum that was carried out that said he shouldn't have sought a fourth term. he's complicit in a lot of this situation, isn't he? This could have been avoided.
Yeah, actually, they could talk for once. The Al Jazeera reporter actually had the point.
Yep, critical support to him.
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting the reporter to push back.
Yeah, I don't think these people are too used to being questioned all that hard.
Yeah, like actually, props to you. You're a real journalist.
Doing your actual job.
Yeah, it's like it's sad that we have to praise journalists for doing their job, but
oh, when talking about the fucking Grayzone.
yeah, well.
The Supreme Court ruled that Evo Morales had the right to run for this term.
His jockeys.
The one packed with his cronies, you mean?
Yeah. Like, and again, the people couldn't want it. They. I mean, again,
there was a they opposed it overall.
Yeah. It's like, I think the main reason, like I think the election with Morales was rigged. The reason why the election with Acri won was because he wasn't Morales, and he was pretty good at like coming off as a moderate.
Yeah, and it's like there was no chance that was rigged because the opposition was in charge when it happened.
Yeah.
So I believe the question of term limits is a distraction from the question of who actually won the October 20th.
No, I think why Maduro won't accept term limits is a legitimate question.
Yeah, it's not imperialism to ask why somebody wants to stay in power seemingly forever.
Election, we should talk about the Organization for American States, which under the leadership
They didn't rig the election. They didn't violate the term limits. They just
of Luis Almagro.
They just criticized those things.
Yeah.
Minister of Uruguay has become a complete tool.
By the way, literally speaking, Iran and Syria denounces all elections all the time. So, what?
Yeah, what's wrong with denouncing this one?
Yeah, it's like Iran denounced the 2020 election, so you could actually say that Iran helped inspire the Capitol riots because they pushed the line that it was a rigged election. So it was going to be a rigged election.
Oh. Well, that's it. We have a casus belli. War now. War now.
Of the United States. I've covered it very closely from here in Washington. We don't hear Luis Almagro denouncing, for example, Juan Orlando Hernandez, the president of Honduras, who has also been protested for years, but especially over the last several months after his brother was implicated in a multi-million-dollar cocaine and drug running scandal in the United States. He was actually found guilty of running drugs and guns to the U.S., and that president is named as a co-conspirator in the case, yet Luis Almagro is silent about Honduras. He's silent about Chile, where we saw security forces systematically targeting demonstrators and shooting them in the eyes. And that's because...
Well, probably because there was actually some violence that happened in Chile. And that
no, those were not 100% peaceful protests. We must compare. Like, the government actually gave in and agreed to hold a referendum to change the constitution. Whereas Morales just wanted...
I think the Chilean government probably cocked a little too hard.
Yeah, they probably should have put up a harder fight than that.
Also, it's like those shots in the eye. The reason why someone lost an eye was because some inexperienced cop essentially fired a rubber bullet. And he had no prior training, and so he aimed for the head, which you're not supposed to do.
With rubber bullets, yeah. But no, that's not a full-blown nationwide police brutality.
The OAS is only interested in carrying out the policies of Washington. Washington pays for 60% of that organization's
I mean, they're interested in paying on buying service to the guy who pays the most?
Seems like it.
Yeah. Welcome to international politics.
Yeah.
The country that usually provides the most to the group gets the most say in the group.
Who would have thunk it?
And there's a reason why Germany has most of the power in the EU. We just contribute.
Yeah, they're just economically the strongest member.
Budget. And I would urge viewers and journalists alike to read a report recently issued by the Center for Economic and Policy Research, a very fine and credible think tank based here in Washington, which...
Yeah, okay, either it's not fine or it is actually fine, but they saw that and were just like, no! Don't promote us.
No. People are going to start lumping us in with global research now.
You know, it's probably thinking, my God, people might actually... No, can we sue people for promoting our stuff? We don't want those people on our site.
We do not endorse any of these opinions expressed on Al Jazeera. Please fuck off.
And also, there's just like election meddling efforts proved that Iran would prefer Biden president because Democrats are soft. Yeah. That was just reading my comment.
Which looked at claims by the OAS about voting irregularities and fraud, allegations of fraud in the Bolivian elections, and found that there were no actual credible pieces of evidence to suggest that this vote was invalid. 47% of Bolivians on October 20th voted for Evo Morales, and we...
Actually, what was it?
It was something like 47%, but the controversy was there was like a period, it would have gone to a second round had it been like a few points up behind, but there was a period when votes stopped being counted, and then the next day, Evo mysteriously had the lead. So that's what people were worried about. That was the irregularities.
Yeah. I mean, that's... It turned out, I'm just looking at it, at first glance, it's not like Venezuela where it's like so obvious they rigged it,
But yeah, it was grounds for controversy. It was grounds for standing down.
We should remember that Evo Morales came to be the presidency.
Came to become?
I understand it as well as you do.
Honestly, maybe this is all just a mistranslation. Maybe they're speaking like some different language, and this is like Google Translate's failed way of...
Maybe it's Russian, and they're all like Manchurian candidates.
In 2003, on the backs of a social movement that was standing up to Carlos Mesa himself. He was vice president, after the former president Gonzalo Sanchez de la Thora was forced to resign for massacring demonstrators standing up to protect their natural and national resources. Evo was among those demonstrators, and he rode a massive social movement of working people, of peasants, of farmers into power. Those people will not...
Yeah, how does that usually work out?
Yeah, these sort of populist appeals you can never deliver on, and it just messes everything up.
Yeah, kind of interestingly enough, one of the most successful revolutions, the American Revolution, was actually done by more elitist people.
Yeah, true. They set up a far more stable and functioning government than elsewhere.
India was also was done by mostly elites.
Well, Poland, it was one case of a revolution from below that was very successful, but like they eschewed populism and the like and focused on, like, I don't know, just democracy. Yeah.
Here, even if Morales...
Like that's the thing, like most... usually they use socialism because you can't use nationalism as much when you have no real oppressor. Because
Yeah, no, it's like all they can do otherwise is shake their fist at the U.S. and what are we doing? We're not occupying Bolivia.
Morales was forced to step down. That is why he said at the end of his statement today, La vida no terminado aquí, la lucha sigue. Life doesn't end here. The fight continues, and we'll see that in Bolivia. And the international community should be paying attention because there is a possibility now that the poor and the supporters of Evo Morales in Bolivia will be targeted with violence, as we've seen already what these demonstrators are doing. They're surrounding the Venezuelan embassy. They've surrounded state TV services.
Yeah,
well,
the Venezuelan embassy of the illegitimate Maduro government.
But here's the thing, I'm looking at like 2019, 2020. It is kind of interesting how Acri actually managed to like do way better than Morales.
Yeah, because for the simple reason the policies were popular, he just was not Morales.
Almost as if maybe if you want to have a serious party, you don't make a cult of personality.
Sound advice, far as I know.
Yeah, some parties here should follow that rule.
Yeah.
Naming no one in particular.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Me neither. I'm just rambling.
They've been acting in a way that if it were in any other country, the U.S., Washington, the Organization of American States would be denouncing the demonstrators. But in this case, because they want to undermine the democratic will of the Bolivian people, they have stood behind these very violent and...
Do people really think that America really gives a crap about Bolivia? Welcome to your real reality. No one gives a crap about your...
No, yeah, like, you notice how we did precisely jack shit when the other guy got elected. It's when Arce got elected. It's their internal matter. We could not care less who they vote for. This was an internal Bolivian thing.
They act like America has any real like they have lithium, but again, Bolivian lithium, it's better, it's easier and cheaper just to do it from Chile anyway.
Yeah, especially with all the insane regulations Bolivia has imposed, they really shot themselves in the foot that way.
Yeah, it's just like America doesn't, like, the CIA is not purposely putting all their resources in Bolivia. That is not the main goal of the CIA.
Oh my gosh.
Like, the US is focusing on a little bigger targets.
Yeah, countries that actually threaten us, as opposed to Bolivia. Who the fuck have they ever threatened?
Clearly fascist demonstrators.
And we'll have to leave it there. Of course, so many questions still to be answered, and this situation is playing out as we speak. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
All right, so that was
some hot Bolivia takes. And I think, yeah, let's call it a night after that.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if I was going to address some drama in the Hawk, but to be fair, don't know how interesting that would be.
Wait, how about you address it in Twitter DMs?
Yeah. What do you mean by that, actually?
Well, just the messages on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna I was just thinking maybe I should publicly denounce some things that have happened, but you know.
Well, what are you talking about? What sort of things?
Okay, so I'm sorry to get you into this, but basically there was some of the more militant atheist hawks essentially began having a major fit because some people of the Hawk gang just got someone banned because they said basically that all Muslims are terrorists. Of course we're going to get those people banned. That's bad publicity. Yet some atheist hawk got angry because we got an atheist hawk banned for being a bigot. And Basically,
shit. I wasn't really following this drama, but yeah, that guy deserved it 100%.
I don't blame you for not following it, but now people are getting angry at me and like a few other people because we're like, no, it's like, it's like they were totally in the right, and they're like, oh, but you didn't cancel this person because they made an edgy joke. I'm like, yeah, edgy jokes versus denouncing an entire population.
Yeah, versus like actual hardcore bigotry.
Yeah,
Whole
and-
different matter. Like, you can recognize that stuff without being a woke scold.
Yeah, and basically the leader of like the militant atheist hawks. Now, I mean, I guess it's basically some guy, Spooky Nookies. He basically just left all DMs that had any hawks that held any Christian values. Because
Yeah, so good riddance, I say.
yeah, anyway, with that, I'll end the broadcast. Thank you
All
all
right.
for coming up. And remember, when you go to sleep tonight, these men will protect you from the commies.
Always